I am going to call our P&G meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. First on the agenda is electing a committee chair. And while I have greatly enjoyed chairing this committee for the last year, I would like to nominate Mitch Lingo to be committee chair for P&G.
I accept the nomination, as long as there's a second.
Don't have to second.
No, you don't have to second.
No, no second needed.
No.
Otherwise, I would have.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
So all, I know you can't vote, that's why we're waiting for Jennifer. All those in favor? Aye. All right, Mitch, I will turn the meeting over to you.
Okay, since my computer does not have a network connection, I know that typically it's the approval of the minutes for the last meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
I move that we approve the minutes from the November meeting.
Second.
You have to second, Charlie can't.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're moving on to policies. I believe the 500 series students is on the agenda tonight. Chase, would you like to, our Deputy Superintendent Ramey, be official?
Absolutely. Good
Yes.
evening. First, I'd like to thank Director Williams for her leadership last year and just appreciate the time that we spent together. I look forward to doing the same with Director Lingo as he takes over.
Great. I'm going to note that in that 360.
You know, the 500s, as you all know, is a large set of policies, and so I do want to be respectful of the board members' time. Of course, we don't want to shortchange any conversation that you want to have on any of the specific policies. Kim's been nice enough to highlight the ones that have been changed in Assembly, but I'm just going to give a couple of points on 7 or 8 of them, and then just open it up to questions. Again, happy to talk about any of them, but just some things that we've been talking about and want to make sure we draw your attention to. First up is 501.5 G1, the factors for school facilities planning. Looks like we might just have missed some language in this last year when we were trying to abide by the state laws around DEI. We had in there as a factor of balancing ethnicity demographics that will run afoul of the new law, and so we're going to pull that out. Along with that, we're going to replace equity in education to guaranteed and viable. That reflects our commitment to HRS, and so we believe it gets to the same point, but just as we adopt that lingo there, changes there. Next would be 501.9, chronic absenteeism. More than anything, it just shows you the continuing and evolving nature of the chronic absenteeism laws as the legislature continues to refine that, adding college visits, so it gives our students more flexibility. Obviously, with our focus on post-secondary, that's a good thing. Down to 503.8, discipline of students who make threats of violence. Laura has done some great work, Kate as well, on this, and one of the things we've talked to you all about in our work sessions over the fall was that, and I'm going to get it wrong tonight, the way that we have our levels of infractions was inverted to how the state did it. Our worst was 3. Our worst was 1, and the state's worst was 3. So we changed the numbers in the policy because the policy from ISB was based on what the state said, so just that those numbers lined up. The other thing is we just removed all the legal citations. We're not sure why, because that doesn't normally stay in the policies, but they had all the different legal citations, and so just for consistency, we moved those. But no additional changes in that. Moving on, and please ask questions along the way, but like I said, we can go back to any questions you have afterwards as well. 503.9, secondary school. Yes, go ahead, Charlie.
Going back to the disciplining students who make threats of violence, do you think the changes that you're proposing in any way balance the consideration of what happens to the students towards more discipline or more suspension than exists now?
I think maybe some of the work overall we're doing, Charlie can get to that, but the changes really here are more just for alignment, for clarity, so that when the public was to see the policy, it would align with what we're doing internally with our CEA and what parents would be hearing from our school administrators. It's really just to alleviate that confusion because of that. But Laura, do you want to add anything to?
No, just this in itself was just really like
from the board's guidance to say, you need to have something that explains the levels, like how, for disciplining and to explain how like infractions, depending on infraction, matches the discipline, so on and so forth. But for this specifically, we didn't make any changes in regards to like being more punitive or anything like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We just inverted the levels to match what we have in our comprehensive behavior approach plan.
Okay, thank you.
503.9 is the school personnel device policy. We're not necessarily asking the board to take any action on this policy. Under Lucas and Brady's leadership and the work that we're doing to look at that approach moving forward, we understand that and recognize there could be some more robust changes to that policy coming back. It's part of the 500, so it's in there, but please know that our final edits aren't there, so we can either just leave it and come back to it, or if the board wanted to pull it out, we could do that as well, but we don't want to give the impression that our edits to this policy are here. We understand the work that's ahead of us over the next several months.
So I have a question. I know, Eliza, you've said that we have an elementary school policy. It's not in the, is it somewhere in board policy? And if not, I think we should think about putting it there. And if it is, should we move it to the 500 so that there's like an elementary policy and then next comes 5039, or house it all together, like school personnel device policy, subsection A, elementary B, I mean,
That's a good idea.
It currently lives in the student handbook.
Okay.
Which is where it is, but we will revise the elementary piece to match that of the secondary, pretty much. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
less restrictive than secondary, but we're gonna wait to where they land there, and then we'll revise the elementary
Yeah.
piece, but where it lives. I think that's important.
We could really just take this policy and, and just cut out secondary and have, like you say, an elementary section and a secondary section all in one policy.
I mean, to me, that makes sense if we have policies on devices in schools, that all of those policies are housed together in a unit so that a parent or whoever can easily
I agree.
find it and say, oh, here are the policies.
All right. The authorization, asthma, airway constricting, or respiratory distress medication self-administration consent form. Probably would have been easier just to-
Yeah.
Thank you. Probably would have been easier just to give you the number. That's a complete policy revision, and it combines two of our current policies, which are forms, into one simplified form. So it's a lot of change, but not necessarily significant substantive change, just to make something a little bit more simple and straightforward for us. 507.7, custody and parental rights. If you read that language, you might think, okay, that applies, but maybe not necessarily directly only in this circumstance. Believe it or not, this is a circumstance that comes up a lot more than you might think, where we have staff members, teachers, paraprofessionals, administrators asked to either give verbal or written statement about a student because of a custody battle, a divorce, or some other legal proceeding. The language that we are proposing to add has been our working approach. Our administrators know it, we share it with them every year, so it's pretty consistent, but it's just not codified in board policy anywhere. So we feel like this is a good opportunity to put that in there. We believe it's the right practice. We're here for all students. We want to be neutral. We want all parents to be partners in their students' educations, and picking a side is a quick way to alienate one parent over the other. So we feel like it's a way to stay neutral and to make sure that we continue to keep our focus on students. And then the last one that I would point out is our wellness regulation. Significant changes there as well. I won't go through all of them, but just another one to draw your attention. That's a very high-level, brief overview of some of the changes, not all the changes, but happy to answer any questions, or the team is as well, on the policies I mentioned or any other changes that you all saw in the 500 this evening.
Chase, no, I'm locked out. There's a marker on there, something about student appearance. What's going on in that one? I thought it was highlighted before, and is it, what change?
It really is just, I think, a language change to ensure that there's more of an equitable approach, that we don't see administrators discriminating in any certain way in terms of student dress. We've been very accepting of a variety of student dress, and so in no way is an attempt to further curtail or implement a strict dress code. It's just to help make sure and clarify for administrators that we have a equitable and non-discriminatory approach to the dress code. and separate.
That's how I read it too.
Are there any other questions from members of the board or members that are just coming to hang out? Then we will move on to the next, which is policy primers, or policy primer, it looked like, if I remember right.
Very complicated.
Correct.
It's just a code addition.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
No comment.
No comment. Any questions on the addition of a number to the oath of office policy primer? Seeing that there are no questions, we'll move on to, I believe, agenda setting, our next committee meeting, which is also known as agenda setting.
February, second meeting in February for 600s, and that would currently be scheduled.
Okay. 24th.
Did I say that? No. The one thing I would just point out is that, as you all know, we're at the beginning of legislative session, and so we continue to monitor the bills that are going through the legislature pretty closely. Obviously, when those are enacted, most of them result in some sort of policy changes. I won't say always, but usually those are put into effect either July 1 or before the start of the school year. There is the unique circumstance where the governor signs something and then it becomes effective immediately. So that would happen. Obviously, we would bring those policy changes to the board throughout the spring. But Kim does a nice job of keeping us up to date on the policy primers of those changes. But most likely, happy to talk about things you're seeing from the legislature at these meetings. But any policy implications most likely would not take effect until next school year after the turn of the fiscal year in July. So I have Director Rubio.
Well, that being said, looking for a motion to adjourn unless there's some questions for Deputy Superintendent Ramey. I need a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All not in favor?